Hello. Today, I want to talk with you about how to prepare a cover letter as you're submitting applications for jobs or for graduate school, for internships. All of those are going to require, in most circumstances, a cover letter and a resume. So there's another letter on resumes that you have watched or can watch next. But for this one, I want to focus on how you should structure a cover letter to maximize its effectiveness. So, first and foremost, I think it's important to recognize the purpose of cover letters. And the purpose of cover letters is to serve as an introduction to your resume, and they should be complementing that resume while avoiding redundancy. If you just write your resume in paragraph format and submit it as a cover letter, you're going to end up making it boring for the reviewer or manager to read your resume, and that's not a good thing, right? You want them to kind of have their interest peaked after reading a cover letter, and then once they've kind of gotten interested in you, you want them to move on to your resume and look for specific details about your preparedness for a position. You really want to be using the cover letter to emphasize why you're a good fit. Resumes present a lot of information, but it usually lacks context. And so in the cover letter, you can kind of provide in more common narrative, more common English, a narrative about why it is that you are interested in a position and how it is that your skill set fits that position's needs, right? Whether it be a job or a graduate program, a research lab in that context, your goal should be to emphasize how your skills match the posted requirements. And you want to use the same terminology that you see in the description of the job or in kind of the summary of the available assistantship or internship. And then you can also, in the context of your cover letter, sort of briefly address issues that might be apparent in your resume. So maybe you have gaps between jobs. Say you have been working as just after you've graduated, you get a job, it's an entry level position, then maybe you go back to graduate school for a while, come out of that experience, and you're looking for a new job that's very different, maybe a career change, or maybe as you apply for graduate school, you have limited research experience. Those things look like flaws, they look like problems on a resume. And so cover letters can kind of preempt that. You can say, the reason I had this gap is because I went to graduate school. The reason I'm shifting careers is because this was an entry level job, and now I'd like to leverage my education into maybe a little different direction or a new level within an organization. Maybe you didn't have enough opportunities to present at conferences, and so you're a little concerned about how your research productivity looks as you apply for graduate school. And so maybe you speak to the fact that you've done some things in classrooms, you've had opportunities to present, etc. So the cover letter gives you a way to fill in those potential holes that might show up on your resume. Now, as I kind of work through this lecture, I'm going to be referring to both of the two documents that you see in front of you. The first of them on the left is kind of a summary of what a cover letter should include, and the one on the right is an example cover letter. Both of these are things I pulled off the internet, but functionally, I think they give you a good summary and maybe a picture of how it comes together. And so as we walk through, we start with sort of the top of any given cover letter should present your contact information. It should be a professional business letter, which uses left justified kind of alignment formatting. We should include things like the employer or the recruiter's information, their address, a date. So you want to make it a professional business letter following sort of typical formatting guidelines. And then you want to address your letter, if possible, to the person you expect to be reviewing your letter. If this is an unknown quantity, you can use kind of default options like to whom it may concern or to the head of the review board or those kinds of things. But if at all possible, you should try to get the name of the person who's leading that review effort and address them directly. The next thing you want to do is kind of open your letter by just clarifying what it is you're applying for. So be very specific about the position that you're applying for, where you were applying for it, and how you found out about that job. So you really want to establish those things up front so they know exactly what they're considering you for. They know if you're in contact with somebody who already works for them. They know how the position was successfully advertised to you. And then finally, you want to make kind of a broad introductory summary statement about yourself to just speak to where you're at and why this position is a good fit for what you're bringing to the table. In the next paragraph, and here you'll notice I've kind of circumscribed 2 paragraphs, so there's some flexibility here depending on how you want to write the letter. So in this example letter, uh, what's what's described as second paragraph is really kind of the body of most cover letters. And that's certainly true in the example you see on the right. But in the second paragraph, you normally want to kind of highlight that you recognize what it is that the organization is looking for or what the program is looking for. And then you want to highlight how your background, skills, experiences sort of bring those things together. So connect their needs to your skill set. What you want to be doing here is selling to the reviewer that you bring something they need, right? And so you might highlight your education. In the example letter on the right, you can see referencing different classes that the person's taking. They can speak to their skills that they've developed as a student. They speak to their employment and how their employment maybe has helped them to be more successful and in being prepared for this internship they're targeting. Or assistant therapist position that they're targeting. And your goal here, as they've done, is to identify skills that are required and then speak to the extent to which you have them. Again, you don't want to over duplicate your resume. You might pull some things in, but your goal here is just to stress the amount of overlap between their needs and your offerings, basically. Here, this author hasn't really included the third paragraph. That's kind of optional. Sometimes you want to include this, sometimes not. It depends on how strongly overlapping your skill set and experiences are. But sometimes it makes good sense to include a brief statement to just tell them about, tell the reviewer about your kind of personal qualities, why it is you're motivated to work at this company or apply for this program. Basically, it's not just that you can do the job, it's that you want to do the job, that you're planning to commit to the organization or to the program and really bring your effort in addition to your skills and experiences. And then finally, the last major element is going to be the closing paragraph. Here, you want to just restate how interested you are. You might highlight something unique about why you're qualified. And then you usually want to leave the reviewer or the manager with a call to action in a sense. So you kind of specify that you're looking forward to meeting them. You want to make it clear that they can contact you or that you'll contact them to set an appointment. It basically implies sort of a future orientation toward the position. So you're kind of recognizing that you deserve to be called. You're inviting them to do that, or offering to be more proactive by saying, "I'll call and set up an appointment." And some of this is all personal preference in terms of the tone of these things. In terms of content, these are the kind of the major elements you want. And then finally, you want a professional signature line and signature. So you'd want to have a closing, could be sincerely, could be respectfully. Sincerely is probably the most common. You want a signature of some sort, could be a physical signature or it may be digital these days. And then finally, you'd want to type your name, maybe your title as needed. And that's it. That's a cover letter in a nutshell.